Hey everybody. Da-na-na. We have a good one today. We have a good conversation coming your way. If you hear barking, it's because Smudge is next to me. Going wild. As is my hair. But let's disregard all of that information. My boy Gerald is going to join me in a moment. And we are going to be chatting about community and excellence and HBCUs and friendship and all the things. We're closing out Black History Month with a bang. So he is about to join. So just hang tight as we wait for him. It just turned 1. I got on a minute early. It's cold weather here. And I'm outside. What does that tell you about me? I am like, where are we? Hi, Karen. Da-da-da. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm excited for this. We're just gonna hang tight for a minute. Mm-mm. It is. Hey, let me just let him know that I'm on. Mm-hmm. There we go. Let me.
There
Hey,
we go.
there we go. See, technology.
I'm never good.
I don't judge. I was like, am I on the right page? I have so many Instagram accounts. I was like, am I on the right one? I could
Yeah, I
be.
was looking. I was like, where's the live? Like, how do I join the live? I'm here though. I'm here.
Yay!
Still sleepy. Got
Hey,
sleep in my eyes. But I'm
it is
here.
1 o'clock. It is 1 o'clock. Why are you asleep?
When you get days off, you just try to sleep as much as you can because when you start back working, there is no sleep. So I try to
That
take little naps here and there.
that is true. I remember when I used to nap. There was a time when I was a queen napper.
You know, napping is one of the delicacies of life. You got to take out some time and like make sure that you're partaking in it for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would agree. I would agree. I don't nap as much as I used to,
Uh-huh.
but I'm sure one day I will come back full circle
We got
and be back like you.
we
If you
got to
hear a
do it.
dog barking, it's Smudge, so I apologize in
No, it's
advance.
all good.
There's a Frenchie running back and forth
Ooh,
beyond me. So
you're fancy.
fancy, I know. Well, thanks for joining me
For sure,
today.
absolutely.
I was like, I had to get you on to have a conversation before the end of Black History Month because
Absolutely.
I mean
No,
it's been a year and a half in the making of us
for sure.
having this, but
No, and I appreciate you being so persistent about, making sure that we do this. Schedules
mhm.
get tied up and I think we might have had something on the books once and then I had to cancel and COVID and
COVID, you
just
know.
a whole bunch of stuff going on. But I appreciate you, and I'm glad that we can get on here and talk about some stuff that we care about, and maybe have a little fun. We'll see.
Have a little, I you have to have a little fun in the midst of talking about like delicate conversations about our communities.
Sure.
And I feel like every time people talk about our communities, there is so much heaviness
Hmm.
like brought up because the topics can be
Yeah,
heavy, but forgetting that like us as Black people are not that. We are light and joyful
for
and have
sure,
all of that.
for sure.
That's not discussed enough amidst like how do we get more of that? Like all of the things that we need to do are to create more joy, are to
Absolutely,
create more um more peace.
Absolutely. You know,
Nudge, stop.
I
Barking
um,
at a cat.
no, yeah. I say it all the time. Black joy is also a part of Black freedom. You know, that you
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to you, to set out some time for happiness and set out some time for joy. Otherwise, I mean, your life is not as meaningful, or
Mm-hmm.
you may not be as impactful as you could be.
Mm-hmm.
So the Black joy is important for sure.
Do you, in regard to that, do you feel like being Black, we have to be intentional about that in opposed to like, obviously, we don't know what it's like to be in another race.
Wow,
Well, I do,
you jump right
biracial.
into it. Now I gotta
But
wake up for real. Okay, no, it's
wake
okay.
up. But I'm just saying, like, do you think that, like, do you think a white man's being like, I need to make sure that I'm joyful? Or it's like, it's just bred into the being where we have to be more intentional because our history has
So,
not allowed us to
so
be.
yeah. So what I think is this. I think that for hundreds of years, Black people were enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
And then for another 100+ years, we were ostracized, segregated. And so I think that in that amount of time, I think it's easy to assume that a lot of the joys and happinesses that Black people had were stripped away from them, starting
Mm-hmm.
from when they left their homeland all the way up
Mm-hmm.
until now. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you only think about or only give credence and space for the non-joyous things in your life, then there's no room to pass that on to a generation past that. And
Okay.
you want to be able to give the next generation, hopes of joy and hopes of freedom and hopes of having a happy life, because those, in my opinion, are the prerequisites to the successes of everything else. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when I was choosing what profession I wanted to go in, I did what made me happy. I did what gave me some joy, gave me
Mm-hmm.
some type of solace. When I picked the wife that I'm gonna marry, I mean, I did that because she brought joy into my life. She made me happy. And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
if we are to go get past, because we're fighting every day. We're still fighting for these freedoms that we want. If we're
Yeah.
to get past you know, the mode or the period of, the woe is me, and we
Mm-hmm.
have to do that by injecting a lot of the joy, the Black joy, into our lives. So, you know that's where the creativity is going to be. It comes out of pain too, but the sustaining of it is going to be out of joy. The new medical advancements are going to be birthed, of course, out of some type of pain, but the joy of being able to save other people, the
Mm-hmm.
technological advancements that we have, knowing that we're going to be helping someone else, that's going to bring
Mm-hmm.
us joy. And so we have to get into this realm of joy, this realm of Black joy, this realm of Black boy joy, Black girl joy. We got to do it. Shout out to
I just
Isaac. Yeah,
I agree with that in the sense of like that is what the next generation and the generation after that are looking at.
yeah,
Like, what are we exuding? What energy are we putting forward? If we're tired and stressed and
for sure.
angry, like what is that having them emulate?
Yeah, for sure.
Where we could
And
say it is work, like life is work and doing this work is work. But like we smile, we have fun, we are not downtrodden all the time.
right,
I mean, and I think that when we say like Black joy, Black excellence, I think those are like slogans, but it's like we have to remember to live the life that we have been given as well.
yeah,
Like I like the quote of like living the way our ancestors couldn't. Like we have, while we lack so many freedoms and we have so much injustice, we also have so many more
for sure.
freedoms um,
But we also
than we have ever had.
But we also have so many more talents, and we have so
Mm-hmm.
many more achievements, and we have so many more people who are exuding Black excellence. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have the capabilities collectively. to mandate a black joy, to
I like
mandate
that.
that, don't forget to smile, don't forget to love,
Hmm.
um, don't forget to hug, don't forget to support each other, support all of us, regardless of what your background is and what you believe. We all
Hmm.
are going through the same struggle, and then going through the same struggle, it doesn't behoove us to put more struggles on each other. So don't forget to support us all.
Hmm.
And so, black joy is important, long story short. And nobody can make you, have that joy. You gotta find it, hold on to it. I don't, regardless if you're religious or not, the biblical scholars say, that joy and peace that passes all understanding. I mean, that's the thing that we look for.
I would agree. I think that's also a reason why I'm so pro
Uh huh.
HBCUs and things, because it's a safe place to exude that joy before, because sometimes our joy can be
For sure.
threatening to in a corporate world, in a creative world, and wherever you are. But like I found like HBCUs, I mean, anybody that walks onto a homecoming, like onto a campus, into the yard, like we'll see just joy in a safe
Absolutely.
space that is so rare in our communities these days. And I'm like, I wish more people would prioritize that. I wish more people would fund
They
that.
HBCUs, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go into the debate of whether or not Howard's homecoming is better than Tennessee State's, but what
You know
I
what?
will say
We already know the
is
answers, so it's okay.
all HBCUs homecomings, I've been to many, exude that comfortability of family, right? Like everybody is embracing you. I'm glad to see you here. Happy
Mm-hmm.
homecoming. You know, welcome home, welcome back. And so there are very few experiences that anybody will have that'll be better than the HBCU homecoming experience. But in that same breath, you have to protect the HBCUs too, and you have
Yeah.
to make sure that you're supporting the HBCUs, because that's how historically, of course, most African Americans uh, gain their education
Mm-hmm.
and their successes. And I mean, it's the same now. I mean, I don't know the specific statistics, but if I'm not mistaken, about I think it's like 50% of the engineers, black engineers in the country, come from HBCUs. 50% of the black doctors and lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
judges, things like that. And so, historically, black colleges and universities are that historical gem, and just landmark, peace mark, joy mark, that we
Uh-huh.
have to be able to support, and we have to be able to make sure that the traditions are upheld, and that generations from now until 500 years from now are able to enjoy.
I would like I was talking to a friend who did not go to
Okay.
HBCU, but like participated in like the the black community on campus and like did a black graduation and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I say, like, kind of how you were saying the traditions. I think if we can uphold our traditions, that extends our joy
For
because it
sure.
extends our safety,
Yeah.
which is also a threat to some, um, but not a reason not to. And I think that even if you don't go to an HBCU or you don't go, if you're not Christian, you don't go to a black church, like all those things are important for our history and they're what made our history in pursuing our
For
excellence
sure.
instead of our enslavement and our lack
Mhm.
thereof, if that makes sense
Oh,
what I'm saying.
absolutely.
And
No, no.
so
Oh, go ahead. Go
sorry.
ahead. Finish your
No, I was
statement.
just gonna say I love coming from California and coming from a very white environment,
Mm-hmm.
um, stepping on a place where oh, I didn't I didn't realize
Yeah.
the amount of
of creativity and the amount of excellence in our
Oh,
community.
oh
Like
yeah,
I was like, oh, being Black is this or it's this. Like even myself, because I grew up in the suburbs in the Bay Area, and I just wasn't exposed to a lot until I was a teenager.
yeah.
You know,
No, no. I know the dance. I know the dance.
I know.
But no, I mean, my background is a little bit different. I grew up in all black neighborhoods. So I grew up in all black neighborhoods. I knew very few, white people. I had, I wasn't until almost an adult when I had my first, white friend that I spent the night at his house, or we hung out together every day and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And so, going to an HBCU, I felt like was an incubator for me to learn who I was and be very confident in who I was, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, in building that confidence, like, oh, I can do this, there are people around me, especially Tennessee State. Shout out to Tennessee State University. They gave me a chance to go to college because, I know you know my story.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I was going to go to college at all. And, there, people poured into me intimately.
Mm-hmm.
If I was slacking, people stayed on me. If my successes, people highlighted those, and because of that, it gave me the confidence and it gave me the space to learn who I was. And in learning who I
Mm-hmm.
was, it allowed me to leave Tennessee State and be confident in who I am, what my culture is, and because of that, I never felt a need to try to fit in with a group or try to be
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm not. I mean, I could stand on all 10 toes and say, this is who I am and this is where I stand on. So, and I feel like you can, you can get that from other places, but I mean, the HBCUs, especially for Black people, is where most Black people get that confidence.
Do you think that, like you said, you could get it from other
Yeah.
places? Do you think for your story, you would have had the same successes? Like, do you
I
think you
know.
would have been poured into in the same way if you had
No, no.
gone to a
I,
more PWI?
as far as successes, I mean, I would hope that I would excel in everywhere I go.
Amen.
Even at that level, I hope that my excellence would show.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'll say is this: Tennessee State was such a unique experience in the fact that the people were pouring into you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you had a mother away from your mother, you had a father away from your father, you had grandparents away from your grandparents, you had a place to go where people will feed you food that you eat.
Yes,
You're listening to
that
your
part.
music. They're telling you which churches that you should go to.
Mm-hmm.
The culture was there. And, coming from where I came from, I was still rough around the edges when it came to being, released into, to be perfectly honest, an academic setting and a professional setting also, because I didn't come from uh, a place where I saw, professionals all day, every day. It just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the HBCU gave me that space, and sometimes because I've been to a PWI also. Sometimes you get into that space, and there are people who are very skeptical about you being there. They're
Mm-hmm.
very critical of you because you don't look like the normal group of people, and because of that, I mean, their actions past that reflect that. And
Mm-hmm.
so, at HBCU, you deal less with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it has its own challenges, of course, but there was never a question about whether or not these people loved me um, or wanted to support me. So,
I agree. I have like opposite stories in so many ways. Like, I didn't have like my first like Black friend until I was like deep in high school. I
really,
I I wasn't allowed to get braids. I
you want wait
I thought I was Julie Andrews. I
wait
thought
wait
I was
wait
Julie Andrews. When
wait.
you
What
look
do you mean? What do you mean you weren't allowed to get braids? What does that mean?
I wasn't allowed I wasn't allowed to get braids until like high school. My mom brushed out my curls. Well, it's my grandmother raised
Uh huh.
me, and my grandmother is white,
Yeah.
from Arkansas, but white.
Uh huh.
Um, And they didn't know how to, in the 80s and early 90s, incorporate those two worlds. Like, where do you do with this girl with like this hair? So they just brushed it out. They made it super
Yeah.
soft, very big. I'm tall. I stood out, but I didn't. So I always felt like the pictures.
So
It's just tragic.
you had big hair with your hair slicked back.
I just had big hair and I played sports. So
Yeah.
like imagine like a softball helmet with an afro. It just braids would have done me well.
Uh-huh.
To make me fit in. And then I started going to like my dad's church and I started to like embrace that. I was like, oh, okay, I see myself. So that's when I went to a PWI and a HBCU. When I went to an HBCU, I was like, oh, I see myself. I've
Right.
never seen myself in like
For
mass quantities. I was
sure.
like, I never fit in. I never knew what the difference was. And I was like, oh, this, as much as this side of my family or people loved me and cared about me, they couldn't provide this other
Yeah.
aspect of just the
Yeah,
culture,
for sure.
just the culture alone. Because I had the professionalism, I had the resources, like I felt very comfortable in multiple
Mm-hmm.
environments, but I was like, I didn't feel at home until I realized what home was.
Yeah.
So like having your auntie, having all these people that are like, I got you. I mean, they made fun of me because I'm from California
Of course.
and I wore sandals everywhere, but
But it was all
they
love still though.
it was all
For
love.
sure.
But they saw me,
Yeah.
and they fixed my hair,
And
and they fixed my
you
hair.
know, I think that that's one of the conversations that we don't often have as Black people, the conversation of being seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I had never felt like I was not seen until I went to a place where, or went to an environment where there were people who didn't see me. And that was the first time that I realized, like, oh, it's some of these people, they may not even be racist. It's just that they don't
Mm-hmm.
see you. And so I recall like going through the hallways of TSU, and I mean every single person, just about every single person that you walk by would at least give you a nod, say what's up, how you doing,
Mm-hmm.
what's good. But then if you walk in the city streets downtown, you may walk past some people who literally would look straight, walk right past you, or see right through you, or even
Look
look the other way when you
away.
walk by.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that is definitely a conversation that we have to start. If we aren't well, we are having the conversation, but we need to do it a little more. Is
Mm-hmm.
having that conversation about being seen and making sure that we see each other. We say that thing, I see you,
Mm-hmm.
and so we need to make sure that we continue to see each other. And we need to make sure that we cultivate places where people are being seen, like our HBCUs, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I saw in the news, I always have my head tucked, but I I saw in the news where it seems like HBCUs are being attacked even more
Yeah.
now than usual. And in my mind, I was like, we have to be able to support the HBCUs at all costs. I mean, we have to.
We have.
HBCUs is what made me. It made you, and
Mm-hmm.
based on the statistics, like we said, it made a lot of us. And so, I mean, we have to put the support and the love into our HBCUs because if we don't, no one else will.
And I think that place of being seen, I think so many times they're being attacked because of people don't want diversity or they're thinking the teachings or whatever. Just the community, like that itself, it, regardless of the education, like knowing that there is a place where you can be
For sure.
seen. I don't know who I would be. I don't know if I would be walking in the confidence of being a Black woman without that experience.
Absolutely.
And then having a reflection of friends and knowing certain things, and also being taught my biases in a safe space
Mm-hmm.
and being able to talk about that because we don't talk a lot about our biases as well. And when you take take that away, what does that get replaced with?
Mm-hmm.
How, like, if we didn't have that, what would our lives have been like? Like you said, we still would be excellent, but would it have taken longer to achieve what we
I
wanted to
think it would have
achieve?
definitely.
Would our friendship been as strong?
Yeah.
Like the facts that I know you, and like I met you through a friend that went to Howard, that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like the network is just so freaking deep.
No, it's deep. It's strong for sure. I mean,
And I immediately trust you in a way because I'm like, oh, okay,
like,
that's good people. I'm
oh,
okay.
okay,
Ah,
all right, for
even
sure.
though
No, I
you went
mean,
to TSU, it's
I,
okay.
I think that we still, I think that we still, Black people as a, as a group would still excel, and we would have, we would still make it to the both the skill, talent, and intellectual prowess that we have now and beyond.
Get that
But it
vocabulary.
would take us much, much, much longer to get
Mm-hmm.
there without the
Mm-hmm.
HBCUs. And we have to think about how the HBCUs were born, right? Like, it was born out of a necessity to educate African Americans at a time where they were not allowed to be educated around other white people. They couldn't sit around other white
Mm-hmm.
people. Or they couldn't eat with them. They couldn't do anything. They were basically cast aside and told, well, get it how you live, however you get it. And so building your own, like every innovator, entrepreneur, creator should do, we built this network of education systems that we thought would help our communities, and they have done that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I anticipate that our communities will get even stronger with the help of our people like you and I supporting
Mm-hmm.
HBCUs, especially the ones that we come from. But you don't just have to support the HBCU that you come from. You should be supporting all HBCUs, because there's a Stephanie somewhere in North
Mm-hmm.
Carolina that also needs help. There's a Stephanie in Mississippi somewhere that also needs
Mm-hmm.
help. There's a Stephanie in California. This is the Stephanie in California that needed help, or in
I.
Alabama. And same thing for the Gerald out there. And it
Mm-hmm.
may not be TSU that he wants to go to. He might want to go to Howard or Hampton or Fisk or Alabama A&M. And I should be able to support him in any way that I can. But Frankie said he wants some action too. He wants to talk about
He's like, what's
HBCUs
going?
too.
He's like, I'm black.
Yeah, so I mean, we got to support all HBCUs and not just the one or two. You know.
Do you think? Well, I already know the answer, but just
Then why
to
are you
like,
asking me if you already know the answer?
because I feel as though because I ask
All right.
questions. That's what I do. I
I
like
didn't hear
I
my
like the
phone.
sound of my
Somebody was
voice.
calling me. What'd you
So
say?
if
That's
no, I said I like the sound of my voice.
okay.
I'm just being a smart ass. Like, do you think the friendships that you made like from childhood and then like at TSU and as you're growing, do you think that that has helped lead you to who you are and to your successes? Do you think it's been like or do you think that it is just the structure of the HBCUs, like the educational structure, or do you think it's also the
Oh no,
social
it was
structure?
it, it was definitely the connections for sure. A book is a book. They're
Mm-hmm.
all the same. You know, they're using the same physics books at TSU are the same physics books at Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, for instance, before I became a physician, I personally I did not have a personal relationship, nor did I know a black doctor. And I was
Okay.
22, 23 years old. I was 22 years old. And I had a roommate who his mentor just so happened to be a physician through his fraternity. And he said, "Bro, I want you to meet this person. He a real cool guy, man. I think that y'all will hit it off." And I met him, and he was like, "I'm a physician. I'm a doctor." I was like, "Oh man, you're a doctor, first black doctor that I ever had like these type of conversations and interactions with." And he was like, at the end of our, we were maybe like a month into our friendship. He was like, "Man, you should try being a doctor. I know that you, you're getting your degree in physics and astronomy, but you know there are plenty of people who get their degree in physics and become physicians. And you know, I looked into it. I liked it. I took the MCAT. You know, passed it. I had I don't think I had ever heard. Meharry was right down the street from my house, and I vaguely heard of it, but I didn't actually know what it was. Looked into it, looked into the history of it, and I immediately fell in love, and so that's why I chose to get my medical training. And all of that stuff happened because I had an HBCU connection with a person who also had a HBCU connection with another person that was willing to put his arm around me and make sure that I became successful. So it's that network, you cannot beat it.
Hmm. I would also like follow up by saying, okay, so you and I come from, we're college educated.
Hmm.
We have, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I write a damn good song.
I'm not a
So,
doctor either.
you know, but I I look and I go, okay, you said we want to be
Yeah.
seen. We need to be able to see everybody.
Hmm.
Do you think there is I guess, in a caste system in terms of our communities, from those that like went to a college and got that experience, got that excellent, and then those that chose other paths? Like, do you think
When you say other
do you
paths,
think
what
we're
do you mean?
lacking? Like, let's say you decided not to go to
Yeah.
college. Let's say you decided to, let's say you couldn't, you
No,
didn't have
yeah,
the opportunity to go to
for
college.
sure.
It's
So
okay.
no, I understand your
Or
question.
you decided to do a trade or
Yeah.
something else. Do you think that, I'm saying what I hear from, I'm in so many different groups of society,
Uh-huh.
like, do you think being college educated makes us more excellent, the way I said this? Or do you think, like, how do I word this with not
I understand
sounding
your
like an asshole?
question. I mean, if you
Because, like, we have a caste system in society,
uh-huh.
right? So how do we avoid having that system in the Black community? Because we all need to be able to see each other, but it seems like we are getting segregated between what people would consider educated, what people would say isn't
Okay.
educated, but it's just a different
Let
path, where I don't see that happening as much in other races.
Yes, let me
I said that very long-winded because
no,
the dog is running
I
around.
have to preface this
Oh
because
shit.
I don't want anybody on the live, and I don't want my mama to see this and take it the wrong way either. Um, so I'm gonna give you a long answer, but
Okay.
this is my personal thought, and this is coming from me, who I don't know. I got multiple degrees, including a doctorate degree. Um, and I
You
pretty
smart.
much, I don't know if I'm smart or not, but I've pretty much been in school my entire life. But this
Mm-hmm.
is what I believe, so I'm going to have to say it. I don't think you have to go to college to be successful, and you
I
don't.
agree.
And sometimes college is more of a burden than it is a blessing. If you
Mm-hmm.
if you're not going to do a technical, if you're not going to get a technical skill you know in college, and what I mean by that is doing things like physics or engineering or accounting, or these very technical skills where you can literally
Mm-hmm.
graduate day one and start your job at NASA, or one of these huge engineering firms on day one. Then
Mm-hmm.
you I don't know if you have to go to college as a mandate or a lawyer. um, I think that there's a lot of success in trade. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
success in honing skills. I think that one of the deficiencies that we have in the Black community is we're not building as many entrepreneurs as we need to. And a part of the reason why we're not building as many entrepreneurs as we need to is because we do, you know, to, you know, good or bad, promote going to college over building business. And
Yes.
so, you look at some of these big entrepreneur giants, these tech giants and things like that. Like some of them went to college, and then you'll see that some of them are college dropouts.
Hmm.
But they built businesses through experience and through
Hmm.
pure grit and grind that has made them 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times successful from their classmates that went finished college and got more education and went on from there. And so I don't think that you have to go to college to be successful. And I think that it would it is to our detriment to separate each other based on our education, status,
Hmm.
especially us as Black people. There are only a certain amount of us, first of all,
Yeah.
and regardless if you educated or not, believe me, they still gonna look at you like, oh, you still a person, you still a Black man,
Yeah.
and so
They don't care.
yeah, we shouldn't be trying to ostracize people because they don't get educated. What we should be doing is seeing, if they don't get educated, making sure that they're one, developing a skill, and then two, developing a network so that they can use their skill in a way that makes them successful and allows them to feed their families.
I like
So I'm not
that
saying
answer.
that education is bad. I'm not saying don't get educated. I'm not saying that at all.
There's
Clearly,
a difference.
I have been educated, but I do not believe that you have to be educated to be successful. As a
And
matter
I would say
of
even
fact,
deeper.
if I could do it, if I did it all over again, like if I knowing what I know now, I probably
Hmm.
would, Mama, don't, just in case my mama see this, Mama, don't take this the wrong way. But knowing what I know now, I probably would not have gone to college right after high school. I
Hmm.
would have probably gone to the bank, taken out a $10,000 loan,
Hmm.
started a business, and tried
Yeah.
to grow and scale that business.
I I
Mama,
mean, I
I'm
agree with
not
you.
saying my education was world class. I appreciate my mama pushing me into education, pushing me to get
Mhm.
educated, especially from my background. But I'm just telling you my truth.
No, I mean, I 100% agree. I
Yeah.
am thankful for college more so because of the relationships I made
Yeah.
and the education I got. Also because I'm a singer, I'm an artist, I host a
Yeah.
podcast, I write. All those things I could do without a degree. Nobody goes, Stephanie, can you sing opera today? Let me see your degree. Nobody had an audition. Nobody's looking at my degree
Yeah.
ever. It's an art form. So I paid money. Well, I got a scholarship for some of it
Yeah.
to do that. But I got the relationships, and I think that that's what we should be
Yeah.
focused on. How do we bring it, even like the HBCU vibe, to just our culture around, like making sure we are pulling in, not pushing
For
out.
sure. For
And
sure.
I've had to realize that because sometimes I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh wait, I was also given a lot of dang
Uh,
opportunities. I also
hmm
was given, I took those opportunities, but I could have done
For sure.
something else. And I live as an entrepreneur now,
hmm
and maybe my debt will go away one day from college. Maybe it won't.
Uh,
We'll see. We'll see.
I am
Well,
hoping that the student loan
every
gods
day
are hearing
I
us.
look,
Go ahead and
every day I look,
cancel
and I
those
go,
loans, my boy.
I
But
it's gonna happen, and then we're gonna toast
for
to it.
sure,
But I think if that's something we could feed into our community, I know you do, I
sure.
know I try to, is like, you are not better because of a degree. You are
No.
not better because of anything, because that is also how society has used supremacy and things
Yeah.
to divide us. And we are, like you said, they're gonna see us the same. Nobody's like pulling me over and being like, but do you have a
No.
degree? Where
You
did you
know,
go to
in
college?
all of
What is
my
your past?
in all of my academic years, no one has ever pulled me to the side and asked me that question. Not once.
See?
Not
Yeah.
even once. So we shouldn't be trying to divide each other based off of education. We shouldn't be trying to divide each other based off of social class or economic status
Mm-hmm.
either, right? Like we should all be able to come together as people with a very common theme, a very common relationship of
Mm-hmm.
community, and knowing that we're standing on the shoulders of giants that didn't get educated. One of the people that I respected the most, my grandmother, she had a 10th grade education, but it's not because she didn't want to go to school. I mean, she came up in a time where it's either you go to school and not make money for your family, or you go make money for your family so that y'all can eat every
Mm-hmm.
day. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
being in her position, I mean, she had to choose to support her family, and so she didn't get a chance to get educated. But she made
Mm-hmm.
but she made sure her kids had an opportunity to do so. And because of
Yeah.
that, her kids had a full opportunity to do so. And I can't overlook the fact that sacrifices were made then so that I could do what I do now. And my sons and daughters will may not know in depth, what it took to get me to the point that
Mm-hmm.
I'm in now, because they'll education may be a norm for them. But if my
Mm-hmm.
son told me at 18 that he didn't want to go to college and he wanted to do something else, like you know build a business, I'd be
Mm-hmm.
100% for it. Don't tell Tati that, but I mean, she listen.
No, I get it. I remember when I got my degree, my daddy said, he's like, you're doing what I could only
Yeah,
imagine, or what your grandmother could only imagine.
yeah,
Um, um, and she's like, this is the reason I came to California. This is the reason I left the South. This is the reason that my mom, like my grandmother, left Arkansas, went to Chicago, did the whole back to California. And I was like, oh, I didn't always see it that way, but I realized, I'm like, oh, the depth of gratitude that I have for the generations before me,
hmm
that I didn't even think I, I don't have to do this. Like I was like, no, I go to college. This is what I do. I go to college and I make some money. Now I went to college and then I decided not to, like, get a job, but they were okay with that.
yeah,
I mean, I did get a job. I decided not to get a 9 to 5 job.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
I did a 24-hour job called touring,
hmm
which is, I also look at that. I go, my ancestors' dreams. Like, who gets to sing at the Grammys? Me. Like, that is, what can I give back?
For sure,
Because I got that opportunity. What can
absolutely,
I feed back into our society? Because I got that opportunity. What kid can I say, what do you want to know about
right.
music? What do you want to know about any type of music? Because I got exposed to opera. So I got exposed to other countries, other languages, other other types of people,
Yeah.
which I think is also just something that we can feed back in. And
Were, were
that's,
you were you exposed to all types of music in college also?
yes.
Okay.
I was, because I was in the music
Yeah.
program. So I sang opera. Like, I sang classical music. That was not what I was like listening to in my car,
You say classical
but
music?
I sing classical. I
Uh,
sing Italian,
yeah.
German, like French opera. I did not decide to be an opera singer because I didn't love it enough. You have to love something to be broke
Yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah,
it. That's how I
for
believe.
sure.
If you
I
love
agree with
something
that.
enough, you can be broke and
Oh
still
yeah.
want to do it. And I didn't love opera enough. I loved country and I loved R&B enough, but I grew up with all types of music, even in my family,
Yeah.
because my family's like the United Colors of Benetton. So it's like there's just so many types of
Everybody
music.
everywhere.
There's just every single type of. I'm like, I. It was the best experience in
Yeah.
my life. Like, when I look back, in the moment, it was just a lot of chaos of a lot of sounds. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I got a bigger view and a bigger scope of reference
Yeah.
to what I could do.
Yeah.
I was never told that I couldn't do something. I was never told. Now my mom would say different. She'd be like, "I just told you to sing so that you would be busy." And I was like, "Sorry, decided to make it my job." Like she was like, "That wasn't my plan. That wasn't my plan. I just wanted you to have a hobby." And I was like,
Well,
"Okay."
hobby became occupation.
Hobby became
Yeah.
occupation. So as we're closing up, first of all, I just want to tell you how much I just appreciate you as a human and as a friend, and like for you just giving your time, like waking up from your nap to chat with me.
I won't do it for
You know,
everybody, for sure.
I I know that. I know that. Don't I know that. So I feel very appreciative.
Sure.
But I have one more
Okay.
question, which is what I ask
Yeah.
everybody. What is freedom to you?
Ooh, deep question.
It's a loaded question. I can get
It's
deep.
deep for sure. Um, and I guess that you can't put the word freedom in the definition of freedom, but
I mean, you
it's
can
the
make the rules,
it's
but
well, no. So to me, freedom is the ability to dream.
okay.
It's the ability to move, the ability to build, the ability to love, the ability to honor, the ability to do all the things that one wishes
Mm-hmm.
to the level at which they want to. I'm trying not to say free or freedom, and to do it with an effectiveness that is, I just said a whole bunch of stuff. Doing whatever you want whenever you want to do it.
Amen.
And it's the thing that we all still strive for. We all
Mm-hmm.
still, you know, are looking for a more perfect way of expressing our freedoms. But I also think that none of us are free if anybody is not free. And so one
Amen.
thing that I have learned that I've had to slap my hand for also, which makes me think that it's a learning there's a learning curve and a work in progress for all of us. Not putting barriers and walls up for other people, because when you're building that wall, you're also building that wall for yourself. And there's somebody behind you that's looking at the wall you're building, and they're building a wall around you. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to make sure that as we search, and strive and press for the high mark of freedom, that we're giving everybody the freedom that we also want afforded to us. Otherwise, there's no such thing as freedom at all. Freedom is an all-inclusive, event.
Mm-hmm.
It's an all-inclusive action. And the moment we start trying to restrict one person's freedoms, we've in some way, some form, you may not see it today, but it'll definitely show up in the days to come. Your freedoms are also
Yeah.
being taken. So that's what
Yeah.
freedom means to me.
That's a good answer. It's a good answer.
Mama, I did not say I don't want to be educated. I didn't want to be educated. I just have to say that. I gotta, just in case my mama sees this video.
I'm gonna send it to her.
Yeah,
I'm gonna send her her own copy.
yeah.
So
Please don't do that.
I won't do that. I won't do
Okay, for sure. Well, I appreciate it. I
I
appreciate it.
appreciate you, and I appreciate that answer, and I hope that anybody that's listening, and I'll save this, can take that answer and like really realize, just like the joy has ripple
Yeah,
effects, like when we choose to not build walls, when we choose to be inclusive, that has ripple
for
effects
sure.
too. And the goal is to just create an
Yeah,
ocean of goodness. And I always say goodness, safety, and
yeah.
love. Like that, um, I feel like that's what God's called me to
No, I
do.
agree.
So,
And can I say
so
this before we leave? I know
yeah,
we're wrapping up, but
no, we're
you
good.
know, um, we cannot the the freedom should be the only goal, right?
Mhm.
Because with the freedom, the joy comes, the freedom to create comes,
Mhm.
like the happiness comes. I've never seen a thing enslaved mentally or physically
Mhm.
and have happiness and peace and all of those things. And so, if you really do want those things, you have to be able to go fight for your freedom and fight for someone else's freedom, even if you don't agree. Like I said, I have developed a thought that, like, I may not like what this person is doing. I may not agree with what they do. I may not, regardless to how I feel, I'm going
Mhm.
to fight for this person's freedom, because if in some way this person isn't free, I'm not free either. If I'm making a rule to exclude this person, I might as well just wait a little bit longer, because that rule is coming to me too. And
Mhm.
so let's get in the habit of fighting for each other's freedoms, because it's not the rules that we should be looking at. It's the actual freedom that we should be looking at.
Mhm.
So that's it.
I like that. I like that. Gonna I'm gonna write that on my phone.
I'll text it to you. You don't need to write it down. Hunch.
Okay. Yeah, text
I'll,
just text me the whole
I'll,
transcript.
I'll,
Thank
trans-
you.
I'll text it. Yeah, but thank you so much for having me, for sure. Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
let's
We'll
do it
do it
again.
again,
Let's do it again
in
for
a year and a
sure.
half.
Yeah, for sure. No, no,
Well,
no.
sure. Come
Sooner than that.
on.
And next time I'm gonna be awake too, so I'll have some.
I know.
I'll have,
We have so
I'll
many more
have better
topics
things to
to
say.
discuss.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, this is one of my favorite humans on the
Woo,
planet. So,
for sure.
yeah. I know you're up there. You're one of my
I
favorite humans. So,
appreciate that.
anytime.
The feeling's
Okay.
mutual. All right, thank you.
All right.
All right,
I'm gonna
see
go
you.
back and take a nap.
Bye.
Bye.